The Charismatic. How to write a love letter for the Charismatic. Okay, let's talk about love letters a little bit before we go into it. Why would you want to write one? And also, I have another data point of why you want to write one. So, the first thing is it's so easy to take people for granted. And I think a good reminder of why you love someone is never a bad thing. Even if you never send it, it's good to have in your mind. Number two, I think women love love letters. And now I have a data point to back it up. So one of my videos went well for me, okay? I'm not competing with anybody else. And it has like 200 something views. I know you're like laughing, but to me, 200 something people is a lot of people. And 100% are women. I think there was one comment that was a man, and I don't think it even like calculated it into the percentages because I got the statistics of it, and it was 100% women. So women like love letters. Women even like a woman talking about love letters just by itself. And of course, I also talk about the writer and all of that around it. But they love love letters. And I also love the confirmation because obviously I can't speak to every woman known to mankind. Obviously. And so I it's always nice to see, okay, they do really love letters. And yeah, so also anytime you want to like push this into the algorithm and have people write more love letters, comment. Even if you're a woman, you don't have to comment your own love letter. You can just write, hey, I'm a woman, I love love letters. I think it's always nice to see when I am right. But basically when my theories on life are correct, they're sometimes obviously not correct. But this case is... So we are talking about The Charismatic from Robert Greene's book, The Art of Seduction. If you have another book you want me to review, let me know. But basically, I'm trying to go through as many archetypes of people as possible because I don't know your specific person you're writing a love letter for. So I try to go pretty broad and give you some examples of what you can put into the love letters. I am so excited once I can make them a little bit more specific. Like once I can make everything a little bit more specific and interactive. I think that's going to be so much fun. Yeah, okay, let's get into it. So the Charismatic is reckless but with purpose. So first I'm going to define the archetype so you can see if that's the person you want to write the love letter for. So they're reckless but with purpose. Very human. And they acknowledge their dark sides. They're full of contradictions. They seem not to choose ordinary things. They show belief in themselves. They make others feel like they're part of something big. They appeal to a slightly dangerous and untamed part of you. They inspire devotion, not just admiration. And now the examples of this archetype. Also, throughout the series, I've noticed really interesting, seductive, or just interesting people in history. Because we're going to have a couple that are not seductive, and that's good that they're not. But just interesting people usually have more than one. And so if you want to tickle something out of someone, you might want to touch on the archetype that you want them to be more of. Positive reinforcement works better than negative reinforcement. I know that sounds like you're training a dog, but I also prefer a compliment over an insult. It also works on me. Okay, so the examples are Prince, not a prince, like Prince, the singer. He combined mystery and confidence and sexual power. This list is quite diverse, you're going to see. Martin Luther King Jr., his voice carried moral authority and hope. Malcolm X, he projected conviction, clarity, and intensity. Rasputin, which I was confused by. I thought that was just a name of a song. I know. You're like, well, maybe you're not as smart as you think. Most definitely. He appeared mystical, dangerous, and otherworldly. And the last one that Robert Greene also mentions is Jesus Christ. He made people feel chosen and spiritually awakened. So this is quite a range from Prince to Jesus. That is quite a range to have an archetype be from. But I think this is interesting, and I didn't want to include Jesus at first because it's like, but it's not just seduction in the very traditional sense, but also just appeal and interest in an archetype. And I think this might be the best one for someone who's very religious, who is really good with their own morality. And the thing with morality is it's easy to say and it's hard to do. Because the things that are easy to say and easy to do are not usually valuable. Like, oh, don't eat, I don't know, dirt off the floor. It's like, that's pretty easy. It's pretty darn easy not to eat dirt off the floor. But the things that you want to do but shouldn't do are much harder. And so maybe you want to write this for someone who's very religious. You also can obviously write it for someone who gives speeches, for someone, this is important in my opinion, someone whose belief system adds up with their actions. Because there's the opposite. And look, nobody's perfect. I for sure am not. And I try to be as same as my belief system, of course, but I'm not perfect in any sense. You just want it to be as overlapped as possible. It's not going to be 100% because that's robotic and that's not human. And I would say I would be a little cautious with someone who's perfect and never has ever done anything that's wrong or bad or like, that's insanity. But you know the difference between someone who's sometimes mean and they're like, oh, I shouldn't have been mean to that stranger. That sucks. And someone who is like evil or just too much of a discrepancy. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be 100% the same, but it also shouldn't be like 40% the same. Like, it should line up you know what? You're smart, you have intuition, and you also have a brain you can very much use, so you know what I mean. So, now you know what this archetype... Oh! Last one. Marilyn Monroe is all of the archetypes. The amount of times she's mentioned, she has so many different archetypes that she like dwindles into, which I think is interesting because Marilyn Monroe is very famous still and very well known still, and she was a lot of archetypes. Might there be a reason? Anyways, so Marilyn Monroe did this well. So there's also this idea of living for the public, living for other people. And there was a quote of her that says, I belong to the public because I've never belonged to anybody else or something like that. And now I don't know if these exact words should maybe not be uttered by somebody else except Marilyn Monroe because that's probably meant in a different way. But just this idea of there's someone else they're also living for. Even if it's a pet, even if it's just a small circle of people, it's just this idea of other people. It's kind of when you think of it like a conversation. Are they more in conversations or are they more in monologues? This is funny because I'm having a monologue in front of a screen. I see the irony. But that kind of thing. So how do you write a love letter for someone like that, who is almost larger than life, but in a very beautiful way? Because we're going to touch into the star in the next video, which is again larger than life, but in a very, very, very different way. So, number 1, cute, sleepy moments. You're like, what? They're larger than life, and I have to talk about them being sleepy? Yes, because what does a love letter have to do? It has to make the person feel seen. And the best way to make someone feel seen is to see what exists, but nobody points out. You'll see this with anybody. It's the beautiful woman who finally gets complimented on her intelligence and is like, yeah, thank you. Because she's heard 1,000 times she looks beautiful and it's a nice compliment. I'm sure she loves it. But there's something about someone seeing the other part. And in reverse, if she never got a compliment about that, then she loves that compliment. It's usually compliments lose their novelty, like almost anything. And it's at some point a compliment has been said enough to somebody that it turns into an identity. And you think, oh, you want to acknowledge their identity. Their identity is already there. You kind of want to acknowledge what they're building, what they're making, what there is. And with someone who's like larger than life and giving speeches and aligned with their values and all of these things, you want to point out the cuteness. You want to point out the things that other people don't see. Because if there's a projection outside into the world, there's definitely a discrepancy between what other people see and what you get to see. And acknowledging that is the best because you have monopoly on that. You have monopoly on their sleepy moments. You have monopoly on when they're cranky. Don't write a love letter. Don't mention when they're cranky. for the most part. But you know what I mean. This is what you have a monopoly on. And so even if you're not the best writer in the world, I'm sure you're great, but even if you're not, it's easier to give someone a compliment on something they rarely complimented on than what they're complimented on all the time, because you don't even need to give the most beautiful, wrapped in fancy words compliment, because even just, oh, you're smart, is going to be like, thanks, like, because they're waiting for that. Whereas someone who calls her beautiful, let's say, and she's heard that 1,000 times, of course, whoever, like, compliments are twofold, like, it's who's giving the compliment and how much they care about the thing. So yes, if she'll like the compliment as well, I'm not saying that, but it doesn't need to be as unique, because it's unique in the fact that they never hear it. Number 2, cute flaws. Again, we're going to focus on what the world does not see, what you have a monopoly on, which is like the cute flaws, like, do they leave always a towel out, or do not make this passive aggressive. Just cute little things, like, does she drink half a liter of water in one go, or does she, like, these little things that you actually don't mind. Don't make this passive aggressive, please. Number 3. How they live according to their values. That, again, is something that the world doesn't see, because what they project out and how they live within are very different. And if there's, say, kindness and understanding is super important, explain when they have been kind and understanding with you, when nobody was watching, when there was no audience. Now you're like, oh, but she's not an influencer, she's not at this, like, there is no audience. There is always an imaginary audience in someone's brain. Not always, granted, but so often someone has an imaginary audience. Their friends, their family, their work. Usually someone thinks there's an audience. It doesn't even have to be like super direct, but usually people have an audience that they're performing for. And that can be strangers on the street, that can be co-workers, it can be very different things. But I think, again, you have a monopoly on that, and I think capitalizing on that monopoly is important. Capitalizing is the wrong word, but unfortunately I don't have the right word in mind right now. Number 4, what are they scared of, and how can you fix it in their mind or the world? This type of person is fixing and helping and giving advice and like the larger than life, but in a very beautiful, kind way. And so there must be something that they would like to have fixed. And it can just be small, like, oh, they don't know where the future was going, and at the end of the love letter you write, I also don't know where the future is going, but I know you, and wherever you are going is going to be a great future with us, with you, with this. Like, you don't have to be a poet. It doesn't even have to be poetic. It just has to be honest. There's something so poetic about honesty that doesn't need like a B-A-3-Z-Z rhyme. It just needs humanness, which is what we're all kind of waiting and missing at the moment with AI and with all of these things, is humanness. Let yourself be flawed. Let the love letter be weird, but let it be honest. All right, that was all for that archetype. I am so excited for you to write this. Good luck.